I'm sure we could all agree that Marvel is most commonly known for their popular street tier characters, and this comes to absolutely no surprise when you consider that they have characters like Daredevil, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Captain America, and the likes of Black Panther. But out of all these street tier characters, which of them is the best martial artist? We are the Hive Mind, and in this video we'll be analyzing each fighter in Marvel Comics and determining the top 10 in the verse. Without further ado, let's get right into the video.
Two quick disclaimers before we start. This list isn't a definitive ranking. This is the top 10 and the best inverse for each of them. How you use this inverse to rank the top 10 is up to you. However, at the end, we each provide our individual ranking of the top 10. The second disclaimer is about the Marvel Power Grid. Throughout the video, you will hear us source this as quantifications for martial arts mastery. The quantifications for each number ranking is on the screen now.
The first group of characters that we're going to cover is Elektra, Bullseye, and Kraven. Realistically, all of these characters have relativity to each other and other people on this list, but never show any consistent superiority. Therefore, determining how they rank is quite difficult. Elektra, for example, has fought against a holding back Iron Fist and performed extremely well, even forcing him to pull out the actual Iron Fist ability against her. And she also has multiple narrative implications of being relative with Daredevil. Kraven's skill showings mainly come from his fights with characters like Spider-Man and the Scarlet Spider, characters who outclass him in terms of physical prowess, meaning that his combat skill is proficient enough to mitigate any physical disparities he has against the physically imposing characters. Bullseye is here mainly for his most recent showing of dancing around Elektra and Daredevil at the same time. His ability to evade and counterattack shows a level of relativity worthy of being on this list. So again, as stated before, it's a toss-up for who's the best among these three, as it all boils down to your own inverse arguments.
King T'Challa's martial art placement is usually the most contentious within Marvel street tiers. If we take a look into his showings, he is consistently depicted as dead relative to Captain America, the two being so evenly matched that Captain America sees them as equals. Black Panther has mastered his unique form of martial arts called Shadow Combat. It's his unique blend of Wakandan martial arts and Kunlun styles and Bruce Lee. Having mastered this one style, he is listed as a 5 in combat skills. Although he only mastered one fighting style, he has studied every fighting style and is an African boxing champion. Majority of Black Panther's skill scaling comes from Captain America, as Black Panther mainly fights with his gear, and for some reason almost all encounters with a martial artist have some underlying context making scaling difficult.
Next up is Wolverine. Like Captain America, he is one of the benchmarks for martial arts within Marvel, as a lot of characters get their inverse scaling off of their performances against him. Wolverine is a master of all forms of combat, as he is listed as a 7 in the Marvel database, but he specializes in his blade skills. Training as a samurai, even when extremely rusty, his sword skills are near flawless. Being practically immortal, all of his training has been integrated directly into himself, that fighting has now become first nature for Wolverine. He's fought superior to Captain America, having beaten him with a precision strike, and has even forced him to call for help in the future. Whilst weakened, he fought relative to Daredevil, and currently Daredevil's agility is what keeps him in the fight with Logan. In his sparring match, Logan bested Iron Fist, with Logan saying that he was fighting at the intensity level of 6 and Iron Fist says he was at a 4. However, this can also be interpreted as Iron Fist giving a slick remark to excuse his loss, especially when he opened up the fight implying that they shouldn't use weapons, so they can really test their hand-to-hand skill and see who's better. On 2 different occasions, Wolverine has fought relative to Shang Chi, and if you're interested in more Wolverine skill showings, we will have a video out soon detailing just how powerful Wolverine is.
Now we move on to Taskmaster, who has consistently been listed as a 7 in skill in the Marvel database, though this is most likely an understatement for Taskmaster's range of martial arts knowledge. Due to having a photographic memory, he retains all of the martial arts knowledge he encounters over the years. This includes all of the unique fighting styles he obtains through seeing other skilled fighters on this list, including but not limited to Captain America, Daredevil, and Iron Fist. Speaking of these characters, Taskmaster is so much more skilled than Captain America that in the past, Cap needed to rely on fighting randomly and using his physical stats advantage to win. And now this trick cannot be used against Taskmaster, which Cap directly states that because Taskmaster knows all of his moves, he cannot win. When faced against the Iron Fist, Taskmaster was able to easily fend him off while distracted and limited by having to hold a dragon's heart. His main reason behind his skill is due to his ability to copy and improve upon fighting styles that he sees. He's able to do this quick as during the middle of a battle, finding the counters onto his opponents, and with this vast knowledge, he can merge it together and use it to create new fighting moves completely unique to his own knowledge set.
Alright, so next person we're going to be covering is the immortal Iron Fist. Danny Rand spent a large portion of his life in an ancient and secret civilization known as Kunlun. It was here where he learned all of his martial arts training. He was taught in every style of combat by his masters. However, due to the Marvel guides consistently ranking him as a 6 out of 7, we can infer that he mastered a good amount of these, but not all of them. Having learned all these martial arts, Danny is thought to be a near equal of Shang Chi, by even Shang himself. And in his most recent fight with Shang, he eventually locked in and performed highly relative to Shang Chi. Danny also employs an instinctive fighting style that he calls the drunken style. Using this, he perfectly counters Mr. X, giving him the opportunity to one-shot him. And in every fight that he has with Daredevil, he fights extremely relative, to the point where a victor cannot be determined between the two. Danny has improved his knowledge of martial arts by reading the Book of the Iron Fist, which essentially acted as a study guide and a journal from all past Iron Fists. This was beneficial to Danny because it resulted in him obtaining an infinite amount of ways he can kill his opponents.
The man without fear is known for his radar sense and agility. However, many do not know that these two factors in combination have augmented his already masterful martial arts skill to where he is a rival to Iron Fist and Shang-Chi. Daredevil is noted to be a master of one martial art, having been awarded a skill ranking of a 5. That being said, it is unconfirmed what style he has mastered. However, there are two highly likely styles. The first being boxing, since he grew up a boxer's son, or 2, the unique style of fighting that Stick would have helped Matt develop in accordance to their lack of sight. Daredevil's spot on the list is mainly due to his performances against Wolverine. In all their encounters, he is shown to be highly relative, if not superior, and in most of his encounters with Iron Fist, it is noted that the two are so highly relative that they are practically equal to each other.
Even though this next character only has a handful of appearances, he is one of the best in-continuity skill statements for any Marvel street tier. He is stated to have trained with masters of every martial art discipline, and he trained with them until he became a master himself. On top of that, he has a statement of being a master of nearly every weapon known to man. He also possesses a telepathic ability to read minds of his opponents that gives him the edge he needs to beat people such as Taskmaster in a fight. In his first appearance, he no-diffed Wolverine and continued to beat him up in the next encounter before Logan found the counter to Mr. X's fighting style. His scaling to this era of Wolverine and Taskmaster proves just how great he is.
The next person we will be covering is Gorgon. The Gorgon appeared and made a name for himself as a member of the Hand and a rival to both Wolverine and Elektra. He first appeared in the Enemy of the State storyline and bodied the fuck out of Elektra, and later on in the same story he faced Wolverine, who was beating him up to the point where Logan would rely on any of his skills. He fought relatively to Iron Fist during the Dark Reign story arc, where he was pretending to be Wolverine. And what really makes Gorgon such a powerful and skilled combatant is his ability to read minds like Mr. X. This telepathic ability allowed him to contend and defeat Shang-Chi in a fight. Gorgon, however, is such a strong fighter due to his physical ability and his telepathy rather than raw martial arts skill like other fighters.
Cap was originally shown to be a 7 in skill, meaning he had mastered all forms of combat. This was substantiated by him stating that he was adept at all known fighting forms. However, after the 2015 reality-altering event Secret Wars, which brought in multiple retcons into Marvel Universe, he is shown to be a 6, meaning master of numerous fighting styles. Now, when it comes to the placement of Cap, it is always difficult because he is usually a benchmark for other characters to gauge their placement, since Cap by himself is a solid martial artist. He can fight without conscious thought since his fighting ability has become instinct for him. He instinctively adapts and tries to find counters to every opponent. He's been called the finest warrior of his age by Kang the Conqueror. He of course bases these statements on moments like his own fight with Cap, where the two fight on an astral plane, where Cap immediately picks up the form, a form that takes on average decades to master.
And to absolutely nobody's surprise, the number 1 spot is going to go to Shang-Chi, who is the best fighter within Marvel. His entire character is based around his martial arts skill, so all his stories and appearances are to serve the purpose of pushing a martial arts narrative. Shang is also verbatim stated to be the best martial artist within Marvel, and has a listing of 7, meaning he has mastered every martial art within the verse. Unlike other characters with a 7 in martial arts mastery, his mastery has allowed him to become one with his style, meaning that he fights purely off instinct. His proficiency has led him to be a teacher of martial arts to other skilled characters. He has trained Wolverine to fight more controlled and with finesse. He has also worked with Spider-Man to create a unique fighting form for Peter to compensate for his recently lost spider sense. Shang also has such a high level of martial arts mastery that he could create a new form based on his short time with the Phoenix Force. Captain America had thought this task difficult enough to where he believed Shang was better fit for mastering the Phoenix power than himself, which is a clear form of Cap admitting martial arts inferiority to Shang-Chi. He has fought superior to the likes of Wolverine, having dodged more strikes and landed more strikes. He's beaten Spider-Man, being able to restrain him in their exchange. And most impressively, when faced against an alternate version of himself, Shang could use his accumulated skills, mimicking his allies' fighting moves, to outskill and beat this alternate version of himself. Having statements of being the best, and nobody having any inverse scaling over Shang, secures Shang-Chi as the #1 fighter within Marvel.
So finally, this is how we all rank the top 10.
Now, I'm more of a high tier guy, so I don't really have a vast knowledge on street tiers, but I've read enough about street tiers to know that Black Panther is ass, but that's about it.
That's everything we have for you guys today. If you enjoyed, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this within the future. And make sure you go check out our most recent video detailing the fight between Black Panther and Batman. We'll catch you on the next video.